Should you, our LDP participants have joined in, some of them?
Yeah, they are joining, and you can see at the bottom, participants have gone up to 32.
32 now.
They'll go on increasing. I think you can start now, Chitra. Okay, right. So, very good morning to one and all of you. It is a long overdue task of mine, which has been left undone till today, that was to arrange a meeting with a direction for evolving leadership and more. I was actually left grappling to evolve a 2-day CME, or rather then I went on to think of doing a 2-day webinar, but there were different stumbling blocks along the way. As of now, I have decided to keep you guys all engrossed with leadership defining talks, share experience of wise men, unrelate to ophthalmology too, take up your suggestions along the way, and let's make this LDP group meet a real worthwhile get together. So we have a great panel of speakers here. The expert panel, none other than our dear Dr. Natarajan and our very dynamic Dr. Namrata Sharma. And we have our different speakers, which you would have already seen. Without wasting time, let me first introduce our first speaker to you. Professor Mahipal Sachdev, as we all know, is the chairman and medical director of the Center for Side Chain of Hospitals and is the president of AIOS. And today we are honored to have him as our guest speaker. He's a combination of a meritorious student, academician, superlative surgeon, and most importantly, an entrepreneur with the courage of a lion to beat the best, and has won innumerable awards, a tribute to his personality. He has been the secretary and president of DOS, chairman scientific committee of AIOS, and today as a president, and in all his turns has brought changes to better the system at all times. I just couldn't have thought of a better person to advise us on optimizing resources, and let's hear him spill out his pearls of wisdom. On to you, Dr. Mahipal.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chitra. And is my screen share on?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I'll be talking about the first part of the LDP, that is the resource optimization. And this is something which is very important for all of us to start with when we are looking at any practice or setting up an institution. So one has to look at the optimization of resources. So when I'm going to actually move about in the flow of the things, it is going to be what are the basics of resource optimization as to what exactly is meant by resource optimization. Second part that I will consider would be the human resource optimization. The third part would be the financial resource. And when you are looking at the fourth part, that is the infrastructure, I'll take it with the equipment, consumables, and inventory. And last part, just a brief thing about goodwill optimization. So these are the things that we'll be talking about in optimization of resources. So it is not just a resource that we are wanting as regards inventory, etc., but it is the total resource optimization. Now, there are several studies that have been done and which shows that the healthcare industry, the productivity level is abysmally low, that is at 43%. That means that if you could produce something at 100%, the healthcare industry has a productivity level of only 43%. Now, this is something that should make us wonder as to why we are not able to optimize the productivity and get it to nearer to 100%. Now, as things stand today, the demand for the healthcare is getting more and more. There is a demand, but there is a strain on the budget. As you all know that now you are getting the low cost Arogyas, kind of the third parties, etc. They are all trying to bring down the cost. So the budgets are getting strained. Regulations are pretty uncertain and complex. And this statistic of 43% is not acceptable. It has to at least be 75% or better. So this is the main problem that we have here. Now let us look at what an organization sees first of all. So first of all, when there is an organization, what you have to see is to optimize the performance. So performance optimization is the key word for any healthcare. And the first part of performance optimization is to improve the care. That means that the care delivery needs to be optimum and needs to be improved. The second is to bring about accountability for whatever any person does. The third part is what we are dealing today is the resource optimization as to how do you do the resource optimization. And the fourth part would be transparency. So all of this put together would give rise to an optimization of the performance of any organization. So what we are going to talk about more in detail is the resource optimization. So resource optimization, what has to be done is shown as the first part is that you have to plan. Whenever you do anything, you have to go to the drawing board and plan. Once you have planned, you need to organize. After organizing, you have to allocate the resources that are important for your profession to ensure maximum efficiency. So that is something which is very, very important, that our efficiency is just now, as I said, very, very poor. And we have to optimize the efficiency by planning, organizing, and allocating. That is something very, very important. Now, what are the attributes of optimized resources? That means that if you have a resource, are you fully optimized or are you not fully optimized? That is something very, very important. So supposing I have to buy a phaco machine, I would want to see, is it the best alternative? But if it is the best alternative, it is not just going to be the performance or the bells and whistles, as you call that this has a motorized pole, etc., those kind of things. It has to be cost effective and gives you still the highest achievable performance. But what is very, very important is that every organization has its own constraints. You may wish to have something, but if there are constraints within the organization that have to be, you have to be cognizant of those constraints to actually go in and buy an equipment with the bells and whistles. You could, supposing there is an MRI, you have Tesla or whatever it is, that means this, but how much it fine it cuts, etc. So supposing you want it for a particular thing which does 99% of your work or 98% of your work, you need not go in for the top end model, which will be with all the bells and whistles, but you will want to go in for which is something which is cost effective and it has the maximum desired factors and minimizes the indirect undesired factor. Above all, it should be open-ended and flexible and should be time efficient. So these are the attributes. Now, what is important in healthcare today is that if you want to optimize the healthcare, they have to talk to each other. That means that the delivery part, the care part, and the cost part have to talk to each other, and they are not talking. Our systems are, supposing I have to deal with a third party, a CGHS dealing will be different from an ECHS dealing, will be different from a TPA, and each TPA would be different. So there is no communication that is there between the provider and the payer. And there is no single point repository to bring all the facilities together. That is the biggest thing that is challenging healthcare, that there are multiple things and multiple arms that you have to work with. And therefore, you cannot come to an adequate an analytics. That means what is important is adequate, but you are totally inadequate as regards their analytics. And therefore, you cannot work out the cost drivers of the network. That is the biggest flaw that we have in the healthcare system today. And we cannot, therefore, because the data in is not great and it is multivariant data. So there is a lack of patient-centric programs and lack of proactive measures to reduce the unnecessary utilization. Now, why is it therefore important that we should turn to performance optimization? We have to turn to performance optimization because we have to offer better access to reduce the waiting time to the patient. Then we have to keep the organization healthy, and therefore we have to avoid financial distress. We have to achieve the regulatory benchmarks, which are changing every time. And therefore we have to do this. We have to improve the clinical quality performance and need to go from good to great. So that is something which is very, very important. Now let us look at the resource optimization. Let us look at Toyota. Today, all of us know Toyota. All of us know that it is a good organization. But when you look at it, there was this engineer, Daiichi, who actually brought about the goal of resource optimization and made Toyota into a lean organization. Now, what he said was that you have to make it Toyota into a production system which is just in time. So he was the father of just in time. What happened earlier in Toyota was that supposing you had 50 dealers, all 50 dealers were given, say, 500 cars every month, even if they needed it or they didn't need it. So therefore, there was no optimization. It was not a lean organization. They were making the production and they were not looking at inventory. So this guy brought in inventory and he said just in time. That means that the stock should not be finished, and you should be just in time to get the stock so that your work is not the work is not dislocated. So this was a optimization of the inventory and the resources that he did, and this is how he made Toyota into what it is. So this is very, very important, that what you need to do is it should be done in time, and the work to the process, you should move forward to complete a job just in time in work that is there is very little waste and only high efficiency. So your efficiency should be excellent. You should be not having any disruption in your work, but there should be cutting of the waste. So that is very, very important. So these are the three things, the pillars on which Toyota got made was Muda. Muda means waste. That means that what is wasteful in your organization should be cut. Now, supposing I am spending wastefully on electricity 1 lakh rupees a month in a particular organization, and if you just switch it off, this 1 lakh would translate to a 5 lakhs of revenue that you have to get in to get that 20% EBITDA. So therefore, wasteful expenditure or waste of inventory or waste of manpower is something that needs to be cut. The second thing in any organization that was there with the teaching of Toyota was Mura. That is unevenness. Now, what is unevenness? For example, if there is a system, I would give the example of, say, a well-oiled system of, say, an Arvind Eye Care, because Dr. Arvind is here, and they have to take out 400 cases in one surgical day. So if there is an unevenness from the patient reporting, the patient getting an anesthesia, the patient going onto the table, and patient going out of the table. So if there is an unevenness, that means that if this person is doing work at this level and the next person does it, the third does it this, and then it comes. So you are actually wasting the time of these two people because these two are uneven. So there should not be unevenness in the system. The unevenness of the system needs to be taken care of. That means that the performance level should be at the same and it should work as a clockwork precision. And then the third thing is that if there is unevenness, you go on to overburdening a particular person. That means that supposing I, as an ophthalmologist, can see 30 patients in, say, 1 hour, and the optometrist can see only 5 patients in 1 hour, then there is an unevenness in the system and it is going to overburden the person at a particular level. So these are the three things that you have to work on. And therefore, again, to re-emphasize, if you are a lean, there is waste in any activity that consumes resources but brings no value to the end consumer. So this is very, very important. A wasteful expenditure, waste is something which is very, very important, that you should not be wasting your resources. Necessary waste, if there is, you have to plan, report, and test that this is necessary, this will happen. Ye isme hum kuch kar nahi sakte. If there is a consumable, I don't want to reuse it. It cannot be reused. So you have to plan and say that, okay, this is going to waste. But pure waste needs to be taken care of. And that is, if you are waiting, equipments waiting to be fixed, documents waiting for approval, there are locked inventories, there is over processing and over analysis to kill new ideas, and there are deflects and complications. So there is pure waste that needs to go out of your organization. Now, the important thing is to make your organization lean. I have seen in my own organization, as you grow, it does not, their flab comes in an organization. You do not have people reporting to a particular thing. It becomes a little loose and it does not remain a lean organization. What is very, very important is that your organization should be lean and mean. And the background, what is therefore important is that in the background, you have to see, these are the reports that you have to make as to how you make a lean organization. What is the importance and context that you are working on? What is the current situation? That means the problem statement, process mapping. Then you have to have, sorry, you have to set targets and goals to get the to get the desired outcomes and the success metrics. And then you have to do what is called as a root cause analysis. And there you have to ask the whys. If there are too many whys, then what you are doing may be wrong, and you have to dip deeper and get on to the normal thing as to whether we should do it or not. Countermeasures, implementation, follow up. So this is the report card that you have. Maybe you could note this. Now let us come to the second part. The second part is the human resource optimization. In healthcare, I would say that human resources are the most important thing. Often it is very difficult to get them, but you have to get the good human resources. So if you have to build your business, you have to build it by your people. So I can say that whenever an organization has flourished, it has flourished on strong foundations, and the strongest foundations of the organization are not its equipment or its instruments, but it is the human resources that are there. So what is very, very important is that you have to hire the human resources very well. Now, what has happened over time is, when we were looking for a job, or maybe when our parents were looking of a job, that was more for sustenance, that you have to keep the family going, that you have to meet the day-to-day requirements. In our generation, maybe people thought sustenance plus profits plus moving forwards. But in today's generation, it is that sustenance is done. There is no problem as regards sustenance in a lot of people. It is not a question of doing well, but it is trying to get more and more. So what has happened over time is that there is the word that I am talking about is turnover. It is actually meant by attrition. So the attrition is much, much higher nowadays. The stickiness of people into organizations is going down, and 50% of the voluntary turnover is because of the people wanting to leave. Now the average tenure only in 5 years of a person sticking to a job has gone down from 4.6 years to 3.2 years. That means that the turnover is rapidly increasing, and so it is happening in healthcare. So there are 73% of people at any given time who are thinking of switching over their jobs. So this is something very, very important, and you need to look at it and realize that this is what is reality, though you have to actually try to keep the people together. So what you have to do is that when the people, so you have to make an environment conducive to them. That means that when they go to work, they should not have to leave their hearts at home. That is what is very, very important. That means that they were coming to work, they should feel that there is going to be something good that is happening to them at the workplace. So it is important for you to do HR planning and to do resource mobilization and resource optimization. So you have to do workforce planning, improve the candidate pool, make a career path internally, and use modern recruiting tool, focus on candidate experience. Each candidate that you have is going to help you in the employer branding, and you have to involve the current employees by offering the best pay and the best benefits. And ref check is very, very important when you hire a person. Now, what is very, very important also is that you have to take hard decisions. If in an organization, if you are not optimizing your workforce, you are doing something wrong. So you have to take hard decisions, what one calls bite the bullet. A rotten apple will spoil the entire barrel. So important to identify people who are troublemakers, people who do not work as per the ethos of the organization, and it is better to bite the bullet and ask them to be out of the organization rather than keep a festering sore with you. Now, what is changing nowadays is, rather than having multitasking, there are several studies to say that if you can do this, you do 4 jobs, it reduces the efficiency of a person by 40%. The chances of making mistakes are much more, and the quality of the output is something which is very, very different. So multitasking is giving way to flexi tasking. That means that if required, I can also as a whole time do the same job. So that means, supposing you have a patient care coordinator and you have a front desk person, if there is a need for the front desk person to go on full time to a job of patient care coordinator, he or she should be trained for that. So flexi tasking is something that is coming in new rather than multitasking that is there. You have to give awards and rewards. So what is very, very important is to recognize the people and give them awards and rewards for the good work that they are doing. one of the basic policies to keep your people engaged is to communicate regularly to them. So if you have to optimize the outcome of an individual, you have to bring out the best in him, you need to communicate. Now, coming to the third part, we have talked about human resources. The third part that we are now going to talk about is a financial resource management. Now, you have to do the financial resource management where you have to look at the inflow and what is the outflow. So you have to look at it at the outpatient departments, in surgeries. So each has to have its own look. At the procedures, you have to look at starting store in store. We were very late in starting our own pharmacies. We were very late in starting our own opticals. And that is something, for example, these are things which are low hanging fruits and where you have to look at a store in store kind of a model. You have to look at the amount of interest that you have to pay if you are in overdraft, or you have to look at the amount of interest that you are getting if you have cash surplus. So these are the things that you have to look as to what the money equation is. And research is something that is going to come in a big way in India. Now, the outgo, we have talked about the inflow as to getting all these things. The outgo is first the capital expense, which is called as the capex, that is the fixed expense that you have. So how much are you willing to do for whenever you go to the drawing board, you have to actually make that what is going to be your capex. Then you have to look at the working capital, which includes the capital outflow, that means the cash flow every month, and that is the salary, consumables, equipment maintenance, marketing, logistics, stationery, support staff, licenses fee, conferences, education. So you have to have a table. You should make a budget every year, every quarter, every month, that this is our budget, this is our supposed to be inflow, this is supposed to be our outflow, and then do it. Even in today's COVID time, we are at making the budgets every 2 weekly as to what our budget would be, what our outflow, inflow, and how are we going to change over it. Now, what is very, very important that we as ophthalmologists never think about is the ROI. We only think about what is my outflow. Now, you will not, and my inflow. We do not think that if I have invested 10 crore, supposing this 10 crore investment in, say, a smile machine and in a femtocataract machine was not made, and if that money was lying only in a fixed deposit, what is the return on investment that I am getting? So supposing if I was getting 8%, 7%, and I may be making money, but that investment cost nobody takes. So whenever you have, say, these things have been brought out onto us, for example, if there is a private equity, they do what is their IRR. That means what is their rate of return of the money that they are putting in. So similarly, you have to look at what is your ROCE, which is the return on capital employed. It is not just that I had a fancy and I'm going to put in money. Even if you are buying gold, you should also look at, say, what is the return on investment. Gold has by far given a 10 to 12% return over the last 50 years, year on year. So there has to be a return on investment that one has to look over it, and the mind has to be over the heart. Ke bhai, mera dil aa gaya, I want to buy this machine. I have not done any calculations ke isme what is the return on investment that I am going to make is something very, very wrong. What is the kind of ROI that you or your organization is looking for, whether it's a 10% ROI, whether it is a 20% ROI or a 30% ROI, that you have to decide beforehand that this organization looks at this type of return on investments. And what is the time period of breaking even? So whenever you have to do budgeting, whatever it may be wrong, but you have to budget and you have to say that this is my break even point of having put a machine, that this is what going to. I have also faltered. I bought 6, 7, 8 catalyst machines at one particular time, thinking that what I can do in Delhi will be able to be replicated across other centers, but it did not happen. So that ROI was something that was wrong in my calculation. So you have to do this. Now, the third important thing, fourth important thing I would say, which is the infrastructure planning. That includes the inventory, the infrastructure, etc. So you have to optimize and start the plan at the planning stage as to where your rooms would be. What is the process flow of the patient? The most important thing is patient aayega, kahan register hoga, how we will move to this place, where is the optom, where is the ophthalmologist, where is the diagnostics, where the prescription will go, where is the opticals, where is the pharmacy. So that is very, very important. Natural lighting is something good. Ventilation is, as in today's time, I think it turned out to be very, very essential. And you have to have materials that have to be easily replicable. Now, what is very, very important again in the hospital infrastructure is privacy and safety concerns. visual supervision of patients. So whether you have cameras or you have a floor manager, he or she should be able to visually see as to what is happening. Circulation should be efficient. And also there are regulatory constraints which we are now facing again and again, which is the National Building Code, the fire clearance, etc. Accreditation center, catering vulnerable patients, you have to have handicapped toilets, etc. That has to be done. Now, within the infrastructure comes the hospital equipment. So you have to understand as to what your organization will give the scope of services. You cannot have that I will give everything to start with. It is only over time that you can say that I will have everything. Even still today, if I have to say all my centers or very few or even one of my center has the ERG, VER machine. So whether I want to give it everywhere or whatever it is, so that is, you have to understand the scope of services. You have to list, this is the hub, this is the tertiary center, this is the spoke, what all services you will want to give at that particular center, what is the expected patient volumes, and you have to be futuristic. So you have to plan at least 20 years with an immediate plan of 5 years. So that is something which is very, very important. You have to also identify a location very well. What is the location? What is the proximity to peers? What is the kind of competition that you are expecting? And you should look at phase-wise expansion and upgradation. And you should have data sheets specific for room, floor, and facility that is there. Now, in the hospital equipment, you have to be happy in life. If you have to want to be happy in life, you must learn the difference between want versus need. I haven't put the any words. So there is something that is wanted by the organization, or there is something that is needed by the organization. So therefore, need to have versus love to have. So love to have should not be the guiding principle. It should be need to have, which should be the guiding principle. And maybe you should not get into the rat race that so and so has got this equipment, that I also need to get this equipment. Whenever you are negotiating an equipment, look at the warranty period, the CMC period, what are the costs that will come to you after 1 year, etc., and how reliable is the person to give the after sale services. So the other important thing in equipment to optimize is the triage of equipment. That means that if you have multiple sites, older equipment which can go to less used sites, newer equipment can come only in experienced hands, but you should have somebody responsible, and upkeep and the logs of preventive maintenance, etc., should be for real and not for just a simple example. If we have a log of a person cleaning the bathroom every 2 hours or 3 hours or 1 hour, at times they don't even, the logs are fudged, and after 2-3 days they just put the signature that this was done at this time. So they should not be fudged, but actually should be required to be true. And finally, to the last thing is, every organization over time needs to develop a goodwill. Another name of goodwill is brand. So you should be able to establish a goodwill and a brand and an ethos, what your organization stands for. And you have to concentrate on this trust and goodwill for first the patients, your employees, if you have investors. What do peers in the industry talk about you? Or what does the trade industry talk about you? Are you good paymasters? Do you stick to your words, etc., etc.? Do you actually do the CMC payments, etc., in time? And then comes the community and the educational institution. So all of this is very, very important. This is created. It takes lifetimes to create goodwill, and you have to be very, very strongly be kind of looking at preserving that goodwill and increasing that goodwill over time. So that is what I would wish to say is for the resource optimization, that this is what you have to have. And this is the exhaustive kind of a thing that I was able to tell you at this particular time regarding the optimization and to keep your organization in a lean and mean and healthy way over time. Thank you very much.
Is Chitra?
Thank you, Dr. Maipal. I think Dr. Chitra is not only...
Sorry?
I think she lost the link. She'll join us.
Yeah.
Can somebody invite the next speaker if there are no questions?
Just I have a small thing to comment, madam.
Yeah.
Maipal sir, wonderful talk regarding the Toyota innovation, what you said. There is actually a book written by one Mr. Vinay Dabodkar from IIM Indore. And the one point which I really like in that, apart from what you said very nicely about the Muda, Mura and the Muri, is also there was a competition between the Ford and the Toyota. The Toyota started having a lot of like short-term experiments, like which should be measurable and not time consuming, and it should be cost effective. Then the Ford started laughing at it. Oh, they are giving so much of experiments and they are wasting their money. 800 experiments they are doing in a year. But ultimately, when the market was looked into it, the Toyota was still the leader. And the Ford accepted that it was basically an employee driven company, which makes it more successful. So I think just a point that whenever we have a big institutions like this, and employees will always add, and if they are given a responsibility like the floor managers or the supervisors, that okay, it should not be like the employer has to give the decision always. So if the employees are given some hand, I think that is where the institution also grows. What is your point on this, sir?
No, I fully agree. What you are saying can be expressed in another way, and that is the Japanese word called as Kaizen. So Kaizen essentially means small little incremental steps to improvement to reach the goal A. Okay. In our lifetimes or the lifetime in an organization, you will rarely get, if at all you get, a path breaking kind of a situation that, okay, this thing actually fundamentally changed the organization and took it to the next level. So what you have to look for, and what you have said, is that experiment, take small little steps to improve what you are doing, whether it be even at how you are registering a patient or how you are getting a feedback. Kaizen, and what you are saying is exactly the same thing. Small little incremental steps coming from your employees only. It does not matter. And doing experiments is the way to go towards success. So that is something very, very important, that you have to experiment. And that's what I said. Ask questions. I didn't have that much of time, but I said 5 whys. So if there are too many whys, then you can dig deeper and say that I will share this idea. But if there are only 2, 3, 4 whys that come out of it, then you should go and experiment and do it and put it into practice.
Can I ask a question?
Actually, Maipal, very nice talk. And this concept of Kaizen was what is talked about by Warren Hill in his application to biometry. For example, it's not the overall improvement in the final outcome that you're looking at, but the input of each and every item, the perfection with which you determine it, the kind of formula that you use, the kind of axial and measurements, the corneal, the inputs as far as the AC depth, the corneal curvature, and bringing them all together so that they tie up together to give you a final excellent outcome. I think this has been, it's not just looking at the finished product, but the entire process and trying to improve upon each and every step all along the way that enhances the final outcome.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes.
So that was a wonderful talk. Regarding employee attrition, I wanted to ask a question. Those employees who stay back with the organization for a long time, they actually start growing on us, and their salaries keep on increasing year after year due to increments, and they start becoming probably a little more arrogant also. So what do you think is the ideal time of employee should stick to the organization? Is there, and the gratuities also start increasing? I mean, there would be people whose efficiency start dropping. That's a different question. But if they are good and efficient, what is your thinking on that?
That's the question. How long Maipal Sachdev should stick to center of a site? He's 62 years. So, anyway,
can I answer that?
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess, people need to be rewarded for the points they get.
Yes, sir?
In my opinion, people who've stayed with me for over 20 years since Sharpset has been there, they get extra brownie points. But it doesn't go beyond a level. They need to deliver. So let's say if what I've done is I've devised a methodology where, say, I give a few marks for loyalty, a few marks for staying in, a few marks for duration. Beyond that, the rest of the marks are for delivering. So on a scale of 100, if anybody stays in shop side, 50% marks are for loyalty, resisting to temptation from being poached from other people, and the extra work he gets into the organization. That is just 50%. 50% comes from the point that he delivers on the KRAs which he's actually been assigned for. Which means if a person has been assigned for marketing, if he's not delivering, he may be very long in the organization. Beyond that, he doesn't go beyond that level.
No, Kamal, that is not the question. That is not the moot point that was under discussion. The KRAs and a 360-degree appraisal, any good organization should do. The problem is that supposing there is somebody, there is loyalty and there is longevity of the service and there is a growth in the remuneration. Supposing I have a driver. Now, this driver came to me in 1998. Now, 1998 and his salary today is 65,000 or 70,000 rupees as a salary of a driver. So what would the KRA of a driver be different between a new driver who can come at 25,000 versus a driver who's at 70,000?
Absolutely. I get your point, sir. I think it's very valid what you brought about. What is he delivering to the organization?
No, he is delivering that he is driving me safely from my home.
If he's not delivering X plus Y, Y is the baseline, he doesn't get the extra benefit.
No, I can't make him an OT technician, right? So he has to deliver a particular job. So anyway, the question that is being asked, and I will not be able to give you a straight answer, that there is a price to loyalty. But then there is a particular point at which, so if you look at the armed forces know that I have to have a frontline person who has to go to the war, and they would not allow a person to, people in armed forces retire at 25 years, 30 years of age, and because a Jawan will remain a Jawan. Yeah. So therefore, that is another concept that you have to work on as to how your organization works. As to that, the biggest resource drain on the government is today the pensions.
Absolutely, sir.
The money that you have to give in pension is the biggest resource. As people keep on being with you for longer, their value for money goes down. So that is a personal call that you have to take, whether you want to be. So that will make you a mean organization. You will be a lean organization, but then you are a mean organization also. So mean organization and being absolutely compassionate will not go hand in hand. So I think
absolutely. I think, sir, I could not agree more with you. There has to be a balance between a lean and a mean. You need to honor loyalty, but at the same time, the outcome, the ROI and the productivity has to be balanced. And somewhere there'll be some rub-offs. There'll be some people who get upset. But yes, the broader outline, once the message goes down across in the organization, that people who are delivering, people who are getting the ROI worth will be nurtured. I think that goes a long way. I agree with you.
One final comment I will make is that often it is the average people who stick longer also.
Exactly. Yeah.
If a person is brilliant, he will possibly jump, and as 3.2 years, etc. He will.
I could not agree more with you, sir. The best of the talent will jump the harness if given the first opportunity. So what you need to is nurture your best of talent and give them the best of opportunities, and the mediocres you can play around with.
So that is.
Sir, I have a different question.
Yeah.
Completely opposite to what Anaga was saying and what we are discussing. Suppose you have an employee person who you have employed, and he is getting a particular raise. And when you are employing a new talent, obviously the other person has been there for last 10 years, so he's not reached up to that level, but he's loyal to you and he's good at his work. And now you get another person who's about 8 to 10 later, but because the fact that he's getting employed now, you are employing him at a higher salary. Right. So how do you balance
that really does not happen. We clearly do a recalibration. So supposing 5 years ago, OT technician or an ophthalmologist was available, let's say an ophthalmologist 10 years ago was available at 75,000. And today an ophthalmologist is available at 2 lakhs. Okay, and that person at 75 has moved on to say 1.75. So there has to be a recalibration of that. We did that for our optometrists. So basically, if I was going to get new hires of optoms and they were because of Titan and Lenskart and everybody coming out, their salaries had gone up. So if I was getting an optom at 30,000 rupees now and the previous salary was 25, there was a recalibration that I had to do so that a person who is been longer in the organization and their work does not have a salary lower than that and their salary was readjusted. So that has to be done. Otherwise, that person will a problem for you. You will be a person who will be, like I said, a dissatisfied employee. So you cannot allow that. The only thing is that you have to be constantly recalibrating, and that is the work of your HR.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Dr.
you so much.
I think each slide of yours was so thought-provoking, and I wish all the LDP participants remember that this is all recorded and it will be loaded on the ARC website. And I would want each of us, including myself, to go back and go through all these slides, and then you could definitely get back to him, and he would email all your answers. I would request my other.
Dr. Chitra, can I add one word? I think Dr. Maipal, whatever he said was a Bible, and I recorded it for my HR team. And I think whatever he says, Dr. Maipal is a guru. Even for me till today, we've been together. He's a guru, and I recorded every word, and I'm going to take down notes. And I think it's all the LDP members who are joining in. These are gospel truths of what Dr. Maipal says. You follow them to the hilt, and you will be successful.
I would request all my speakers to adhere to the time because then it gives us more scope for discussion, because I think our speakers are extremely of great caliber, and that has to be kept in mind. We shall now go on to our next speaker, Dr. Ramurthy. There are some who would live life anyway, and some who would live life the only way. Dr. Ramurthy, who is the chairman of the Eye Foundation Group of Hospitals, was the chairman scientific committee of AIRS for 2 terms, and then the president of AIRS. His wisdom treasures for AIRS were path trending and a vision to emulate at all times. He was recognized with awards and orations along his professional career, and would find time yet to pack in that punch of humor, take the most challenging risky terrain to enjoy that extra mile. We have just the right person to tell each of us how to get the right price for the right equipment. On to you, Dr. Ramurthy.
Thank you so much, Chitra, for that nice introduction. I'm really honored to be a part of this panel in the ARC arm of the AOS. I do understand that the panelists who are listening in themselves are accomplished leaders, are leaders of the future. So it's extremely important that you not only listen, but also contribute. I'm looking forward to hearing from you too. Basically, when I was given this topic, the first thought that struck me was that I've never spoken on this, about equipment purchase, though I've been doing it all along in my life, professional career of more than 3 decades. I thought I'll just refer to the Google, type in equipment purchase for an eye hospital, and I'll get all the information. That was far from the truth. It was just some social service organizations that came up with some postings. And that's when it struck me that you're not taught about this in your post-graduation, in your fellowship, nor are there books or journals on this, but we are doing some practicing this all the time. So basically what I'm going to talk to you about in the next 10 minutes or so is purely from a practice perspective, from the heart and mind, what I've been doing right through. Maybe you will find it resonating with what many of you do, and if you have different ideas, do please feel to share it with me. Obviously, ophthalmology is one specialty where we have been flooded with equipment, and there is often a very rapid turnover just to take care of right from the lids to the tear film to the optic nerve. And obviously, there is a necessity to pick and choose what exactly is needed for us. I think the 2 fundamental questions that come to my mind when I see that an equipment is being thought about is that, do I really need it? Obviously, as Maipal said it, I'm not going to buy it just because the doctor next door or the institution next door is having it, or nor am I going to buy it because I heard an excellent presentation talking about the benefits of this particular equipment. Whether this is something that I can deal with, whether this is something that will add value to the level of practice that I am having, Many of you might be youngsters in the beginning of your career, midway through it. Obviously, when you decide about buying an expensive equipment, these sort of thoughts should come in. The next part is, can you afford it? It comes at an extreme price, whether the return on investment in this particular equipment is going to justify the investment, whether you have the practice patterns that could subsist this particular equipment is something that you need to give a deep thought about. Once you have answered these two fundamental questions as to whether you need it, whether you can afford it at this particular juncture, comes the decision to purchase, which I believe is again dictated by two aspects, that is the quality and price. Obviously, there is a famous dictum said that you pay peanuts and that you get monkeys. That means for ensuring good quality, you have to pay the right price. But that obviously does not also mean that when you pay high price, you get excellent quality. So essentially, you get what you pay for, and often the ability to match the two so that you pay the right price to get the right quality is what leads to an excellent organization and excellent capability to acquiring the right kind of equipments. First, dealing with quality, to me, ensuring good quality is more important than getting the right price. Basically, there are some fundamental ways that you go about. Obviously, when it comes to, say, a fundus camera or a laser equipment, you can ask for a demonstration. And once the company is convinced that you are seriously in the market, they'll ensure that they come and give a demonstration. But in case it's a larger equipment, something like a LASIK equipment or a laser cataract surgical equipment or a vitreoretinal equipment, you might have to go and visit a center. Actually, my first LRCS as well as a femto-LASIK procedure was done when I was visiting different centers for observing these equipments. And you gain experience with this. You observe competent surgeons, experienced surgeons using these equipments. And most importantly, talk to the users. Don't talk just to the users, which the company gives you. Basically, I ask for the user list, the installation base, which gives me an idea of to how many these machines have been installed, how long they have been in use, and I pick and choose as to whom I want to talk to. I might see a couple of friends in the user list, people whom I trust, and would essentially communicate to them and benefit from their experience. And in case you want to know about the particular equipment, the best persons to talk to is to discuss with the competition. Obviously, they will tell you the demerits of that particular equipment. You need not essentially buy into all of it, but that gives you a wholesome view of of what the competition has to offer and what exactly are the benefits of this particular equipment is going to. So essentially, once you have all this information, you can come to a decision. And you have also to ensure that what you are getting is a fully loaded, the current version. And as Maipal mentioned, it's not necessary that you get for the highest end. Basically, there might be just some bells and whistles which come at a considerable cost. It's not necessarily adding on to the quality of delivery as far as outcomes are concerned. So going one step down or two steps down so as to save on the cost without compromising on the quality of outcomes is essentially a great idea. So no one ever made a good decision based on bad information. So making sure, spending the time to gather adequate information to ensure the right kind of quality is extremely important. Every equipment is useful only when there is adequate backup and it's being served, it's functional. So I also ensure that there is adequate service backup, essentially in my area of operation. There are certain equipments which have excellent service backup regionally, maybe in the north, maybe in the south. I essentially want to make sure that my area of operation, there's good service backup. Even more important to me is technical backup. I believe that many of the equipments that we use routinely, whether it's
hospital, I think it sums up all. I think what Maipal and others spoke about race. I think we should not have race here, because I think the idea of leadership is we want to tell each one has a different style. NGO, corporate, individual, group practice, and like Ramurthy, me, whatever. I mean, as Dr. And I think we have learned lots from Dr. GB, and where I think he was a great example. I think everybody picks up. So one thing I suggest is everybody who was a youngster just finished MS and going to start a practice, I think you should take time to start in the sense few weeks or few months. Like that's what I did when I started IIT. Went to every OT to see which is the best OT and incorporate. A similar thing Ramurthy mentioned about buying equipment. I think let us get rid of this word race here. Let Ramurthy do well, let Maipal do well, let Arvind do well. And I used to tell this to Dr. Badrinath in 87 when I was a consultant. Why, if there's another Shankaracharya come next door, why should he be worried? But he was worried. But that is him. I think Dr. Badrinath was like that. For me, I think my own fellows who I've trained are practicing 2 kilometers away, and I don't see any problem. And I think you will get your share. So I keep telling them we have 1.3 billion people, 2.6 billion eyes. All of us have their share. So I want to say the LDP, I want to call it as a cult. We want to make sure that if you've gone through LDP, I think the people have changed their personality, which is what I want. And that's what Arvind is doing. And I think Dr. Shankaracharya, Dr. Badrinath also is doing, which I think in the rat race is the corporate, which I think finally I don't know who's going to win. And I think there's no question of win here. I think we have to find each one. Like Maipal is happy in his way, I'm happy in my way. And I remember in 2000, I think maybe 20 years back, somebody asked, Maipal is doing and Amar Agarwal is doing, why are you not doing? I'm not made for that. But I remember the word TQM, total quality management. And all my friends advise me, if you do that, I'm not telling that Maipal and Amar are not doing, but I think this is what I see in a private practice. If you do whatever I practice as my ethos, which I think is very difficult to get to the employee. So I think, I'm sure it is there in Arvind also, what GV did and what Arvind is doing. I know Arvind grew up in GV's house, not only in the organization. So I think Arvind, I still, every day when I go, even now I went to Arvind Madras, when I went to China. I think that was my last trip out of Mumbai on March 15th. And I think even in Arvind Coimbatore, I had a long walk with him. And I always learn. I mean, I admire Arvind right from his undergraduate days. I've seen him. I don't know whether he remembers that. Same thing with Prajna. So I think we all have to learn whatever age we are, and we can work like a kid. And that's what I want to convey in this LDP.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, Arvind.
And thanks a lot, Dr. Arvind. That was a wonderful talk. I really do hope that the youngsters who've been watching, when I mean youngsters, I would wish that even my son gets an opportunity to spend some time and talk to you and take this leadership concept way ahead in his career too. We shall now go on to our next speaker, Dr. Camille Kapoor. He's a founder director of his 10 Sharp Sight centers, providing world-class facility, as we are all aware. He is an amazing cataract and refractive surgeon with the pride of having done innumerable live surgical demonstration and an invited guest speaker for many major renowned international and national meetings. Amidst his success story, he has an uncanny interest in technology and is actively engaged in developing it with Indian and multinational companies, be it in softwares, intraocular lenses, machines, and more. And he's quite a colorful personality if you realize that he does a great job as being the most popular DJ, video graphics, and a lot more. We really look forward to hearing a lot of great interest from your talk, Dr. Kamal. On to you.
I must thank Dr. Chitra for inviting me for this meeting, and I guess it's a learning experience for me to hearing Dr. Aravind or Dr. Maipal. There's always a learning. I guess life is nothing but learning. Even at this stage, I'm 52. I'm learning. I'm learning from everybody around. I do connect with what Dr. Aravind said. It's about people. It's not about a race. It's about people. If people in your race or people in your team are happy, if they are winning, you're winning. There's no race there. And but the topic I've been given today is social media and making our presence felt. That's a topic very close to me. I'm known in the ophthalmic circles as being an IT savvy person, and I know technology. I understand technology. So I'll be talking about how to use the present current scenarios of social media to your growth, to reaching your full potential. I would not say it's a race. You're not competing with the person next, but how about reaching your full potential? And in today's date, I guess you cannot do without this particular tool. So I will be just, getting presence felt in the virtual world. It's a huge topic. I've spent months and months training my team how to go about it. and I've been asked to compress it within 14 to 15 minutes by Dr. Chitra, who's a very, very dear friend, and Dr. Ramurthy and Dr. Maipal. I'll try and do about social media strategy and getting my presence felt in the virtual world. And whatever I'm sharing is my real experience. There's no theory here. This is what we do in my organization. This is what we've grown year on year, 37 to 40% growth in the social media and practice. And we've employed that. We've been truthful to the ideology we talk about. So what is a social media and networking? It's actually just sharing a behavior, an idea, and interest over a relationship about people whom you don't know, whom you've never seen, you've never met, or probably will never meet. But it's not just entertainment. What the elder generation or the elder generation feels is it's just about entertainment. It's not. It's about a host of opportunities for anybody who wants to go out in the world, market themselves for the skills that they have or the skills they've been bestowed upon. It's more about sharing photographs, videos, coding ideas, gaming. It's more than that. And if you know how to play with this tool, it's actually addictive. If you start playing with this tool and realize the returns it gets you in the gratification about your social and your media and your professional acumen, it's very rewarding. So I would say, when you connect, when you talk about marketing, it's about getting audience at the right time, at the right place, and putting the desired message across. But when you're playing with social media, the game changes. It's about getting the right audience and getting the right time monitoring. This is what most of the people miss. They just put the message across. It's like giving an ad in a newspaper and getting 50 lakh people read the ad. What is the feedback that you have? Do you get a feedback? Do you know where you hit the right audience? Did you get the monitoring? Whether it did get the right impact or not? Well, no. In the OTL or the above line advertising, that's what happens. But in the BTL or the social media, you don't do that. You get the right audience and the real-time monitoring. So what are the types of marketing you have? You have an above the line marketing where you could go to newspaper, radio. You need huge reserves, big organizations like Center for Sight and Agarwal Institutes. They can play in this domain. They have huge reserves. They've invested money to play around with. You have a below the line. You could do camps, local camps, pamphlets, home-to-home campaign. You could have an in-house marketing of in-clinic branding. When a patient walks in, you tell them what your organization is about, what technologies you have, what are the consultants you have. And then comes the online marketing, the social media marketing. It's a cliche. What you need to do is you need to know your social search engine marketing, search engine optimization, your Google keywords, your YouTube, your links, your followers, your blogs, and using the messengers and your WhatsApp and your text messaging. This is a different ball game by itself. I guess we all, as a present generation and the new leadership development program mentors, we need to tell you guys that this is the new game. It's a parallel universe. It's a virtual world. We say it's virtual, but it's real. It exists. And if you want to increase in your business, if you want to grow in your business, you need to be growing in this virtual world too. You cannot, mark my word, you cannot grow in the real world if you're not growing in the virtual world. Now, a lot of people tell me social media is addiction, it's entertainment, it's marketing, it's a super mall, it's an information gateway, but it's not marketing, it's not business. Well, I don't agree so. It's all of the above, but only for the people who know how to use it. It's like you have a scalpel, it can be used to stab a person, to cut a jugular, or to do a surgery. If you are equipped with the technical skills to know what you're going to do with this technology, you can create a world out there. So the results will develop on how it's rolled out to the consumer, how it's pitched. And the best part is you cannot be stuck in a port. You need to keep evolving. Each time you learn from an SEO and your hits, you need to evolve. You need to be thinking on your feet. So when we adapt each time to a new consumer reaction and we increase our reach, you cannot be sitting in a place and thinking to go places. You need to learn. And that's what I've learned over the last 4-5 years. I do my complete search engine optimization with my team. 3 years ago, I was doing all social media outreach programs for my team. But then I realized, time is a constraint. So I picked up real people, real time. So these are few anecdotes which really actually, encompass the way I think about social media. A modern marketer is an experimenter, which means you're a risk taker. It's a lover of data, which means you love to collect data and analyze it. A content creator, you create a content. You go into your inner selves and create something out. And a justifier of return of investment. A new marketer needs to have all these qualities. In the real world, the customer service, it's important to remember what your competitor is. Because if you don't, your competitor is only one click away. And a good marketing makes company look smart, and a great marketing makes a company feel very smart. So these are few dictums which I would want the people to go back home with, that social media is not something to be abhorred or discarded. It's here to stay, and the future belongs to social media marketing. Why should I go to a social media platform? You look at the figures, they're growing exponentially all over the world. Even today, I've been in practice for more than 22 years. I have a patient who says, Dr. Kapoor, we heard about you from a friend who got operated from you, but my son checked you online and then we are here, which means the final clincher or something online within the tagline is the social media. That's what clicks your reach. Mobility is an issue, especially during lockdown. People want to, evaluate a product or read about reviews online before they go. So there could be a lot of people, a lot of practices out there who have 50,000 likes and have 4.9 rating. I would want to go to that doctor than a person who's got 4 rating and 20,000 reviews. So it is definitely cheaper than above the line and below the line. So what are the objectives? The objectives would be, to create awareness about the product, then create interest, a brand emotion, and then generate a lead, conversion, and then create a footfall. If it doesn't follow the track, you're lost. In today's social media campaign, if you're not in the end converting your footfall, you're just wasting time and money. So the end result should be creating a footfall. Let's say I want a patient to come and get a LASIK done from me. So the end result is free from glasses. How would that go from, I want a LASIK checkup? How would that go from, I want to book an appointment? But if I've not done the base of the pyramid will never happen. So what do I need to create is I need to create a story around my social media campaign, which starts from awareness, creates an interest, and then generates or pushes the patient to create a booking and appointment. So these are from some colloquial, quotes from top media gurus on social media. People would only want to do business with you because you help them get what they want. Nobody would want to do business with you because you want them to give you what you want. As long as we maintain this dictum, this is what I tell my SM team or social media team, you need to be focused on how you market yourself and the patient is getting what he wants. It's a new game. There are many advantages. You need to know the people. Social media marketing is about marketing on people. You need to focus on people. For once in a lifetime, we need to forget about our products or our skills. We need to deliver to people what they want. The best advantage of social media is that unlike a newspaper media or above the line media, you flash an advertisement to 2 lakh people in a newspaper. You have no control who reads it and what are the leads you get. In social media, you can bombard it to the relevant people and get a real-time feedback of what you're getting from it. This is the biggest advantage. So how to go about a social media campaign? First of all, determine your goal. Clear-cut goals. What do you want out of this media campaign? Are you you just want to create an awareness? Are you about to clear about interest? Are you wanting to clear an lead generation? Clear the goal first. Once you've done that, then define the strategy. What are the strategies which would be employed to reach that goal? Then do a market analysis of your competition and what the other people are doing to do what you do. This is one thing which most of my colleagues miss. I spent at least 70% of time doing that. I do a market analysis of Google reviews, SEO optimization of my competitors. I learn from them and I innovate. The reason for that is no wonder we get approximately 1 lakh or 80,000 reviews on our Facebook, maybe 20, 30,000 hits on our YouTube, because I'm learning on the fly. I'm learning what the competition is doing. I'm learning from that, and then I'm moving on that. Then the most important plan is content plan. What are you going to display out there on the social media? Is it just marketing yourself or your technology or the machines you have? Or is it something which is impactful, which makes a difference in the person who's reading it or seeing it in their life? Then is the budget. Are you going to allocate a budget? So this is something which is evolutionary. You decide a budget for 45 days. Why I say 45 days is most of the search engines work in a time domain of 30 to 45 days. So it's not before 45 plus days before you know what result your campaign has. And the last most important is, are you going to do a key productivity analysis of what you did out there and what did happen? Then is setting the goals. The goal should be timely. You should say, okay, next 1 month, I want 20,000 people to know about how I'm doing LASIK differently. It should be specific. I'm targeting only LASIK patients at that time. It should be measurable. I should be able to measure how many hits I got in that time, how many likes I got in that time, how many shares at that time. It should be achievable. I can't be telling my team I want 2 lakh hits in 1 month time. It should be ethical. The message I'm giving across should be ethical. It should be right. It should be realistic. And the most important thing is the truth should be experienced. I cannot say that I am like a Taj Mahal. When the patient walks in, he doesn't experience that. This will kill my campaign. The worst of campaigns are that you say something else in the world and the real life is different. So in the end, it should be intentionality focused. Each time you set a goal, you set the intentionality. Whether the intentionality is footfalls, awareness, interest, you set that and you work on that. And then once that's accomplished, you work on the next stage. This sounds like a lot of gibberish to a lot of people, but this is how the social media works. What I do for my team is I do strategy and goal analysis program. I do identify the business goals. I set the marketing objectives. I tell them, okay, in these 2 months, I want 600 femto cataract patients generating queries. Now, how should I do about that? Then I research my competition. What are they doing to generate 80 queries a month? Then I work on that. Then I choose the channels and tactics. Which are the channels? Am I working on senior citizens forum? Am I working on websites as Seniority or yoga platforms where a lot of senior citizens are going? Suppose I'm targeting LASIK. I start studying the portals like lenscard.com, frame.com, shadi.com. I see what are the kind of people who are visiting them. How many of them wear glasses? So I do a search engine optimization of patients of people who wearing glasses. I do a research of my competition. How are they targeting it? I innovate on the way. Then I create a content. The content has to be crisp, attractive, and has to hit in 5 bullet points. I always give my team 5 bullet points. If you have a long message, nobody in today's world using a mobile phone has got a screen size, max screen size you have is a 390 by 1980 resolution. You don't want to zoom in to read words. The content has to be crisp like a bullet. I tell my team it has to be like a sniper bullet. Each bullet has to count. You have to allocate the budget for the resources and then the assigning of the roles. Who is going to be marketing and monitoring the hit? Who's going to be answering the queries? Who's going to be doing the bushfires of unhappy patients? There are protocols given to my team, and each person is answerable to me on each Saturday evening. And then the KPI review and re-strategize. Every 45 days, we re-strategize. And the result is my online presence is growing by leaps and bounds. How do you identify the goals? There are various options available. Would you want to use a Facebook, an Instagram, or YouTube, or Twitter, or WhatsApp, or Telegram, or Google Ads? It's out there. It's your call. What do you want to play with? The social website marketing data of 2020 April is 86.4 is the hit rate of Facebook, 3.26 is YouTube, 4.8 for Instagram, 2.57, and so on and so forth. It doesn't mean you just concentrate on Facebook. You need to know who is your target audience. If your target audience is of older people who are listening to bhajans on YouTube and you want to market cataract, well, your first choice is YouTube. But if you're marketing on youngsters who are into partying and social circuits and LASIK, well, your target could be Facebook. It needs a lot of common sense to do all these kind of things. Now, if you want to go YouTube or Google, what is your prime concern? My prime concern would be to have a search engine optimization and having right keywords. Suppose I want to go on Facebook. I want to have my content optimized for that specific age group. Suppose it's a YouTube. I want to have my videos, optimized for streaming. It doesn't kind of go in a buffer mode. Somebody wants to go on the YouTube and the YouTube is still loading. Nobody has the patience to wait for that. To be luring enough for the patient to be attracted to click on that and then go on to YouTube. I'll go very fast. Now, suppose what is the content I'm playing with? The content never wins. It's only the optimized content which wins. So how? Is the content readable? Because it's a short space. People are using iPhones or phones or tabs. They have reduced retention span. You should be able to deliver the message within the first 40 seconds. If you can't do that, you're gone. Attractive. There has to be a color scheme. There has to be context, and it should lure the audience. It has to be like a sniper bullet. Now, I'm giving an example. On my right screen, I have two, SM Byte optimization and my SharpSight logo. They are not optimized for this screen. Most of the people would have missed that. They've been there till I put an arrow there. So what I'm trying to do is, was your content optimized for the platform you're using? Are you using the right colors? Are you using the right platforms? Never criticize the competition. Avoid negative pitch. Share your experience. You should have a dedicated team who does the content writing, promotion, boost, engagement with the patient. If a patient puts a query, within 6 hours, the query has to be answered. If not, the patient is going to another platform. You should have another team which converts the query to a footfall. Analyzing the data. How many patients are asking what scheme? If somebody is asking more about femto LASIK or a femto cataract in your questionnaire, it's time to buy a femto machine. Answering queries using the artificial intelligence, the robots. Most important is, are you using the information content, which should be more important than the product you're marketing. This is some examples which I do. When we do informative campaigns in SharpSight, it's about the product, not about the product. It's about helping the patient. Is cataract surgery safe during COVID? Is your child having trouble reading? We don't say come to SharpSight. We say your child needs help. And we are there to create awareness about health. You could pitch in about your hiring or pre-launches of your centers, keeping a connect during the festivals with your patients, achievements of your doctors, testimonials, live sessions of question answer. You could announce a pre-launch. Okay, for next 3 days, a glaucoma specialist is going to be online, answer all your queries. So what are you doing? You're drawing traction from all your competitors. All your competitors are losing out when you're answering queries about glaucoma because their doctor was busy to answer those questions. So this is what we do. We generate these queries and we bring a brand loyalty. I can see Dr. Chitra laughing out there, but I guess this works. Now, when we talk on a website, we only talk about machines and technology. The biggest losing point is, what if your competition buys the same machine and technology? What do? So what you market is your people, your happy people, their achievements, their surgical skills, their degrees, their qualifications. This is one thing which the competition will not have. So whatever is the mission of my team should commensurate with what message I'm sending out in the out there. The content sharing rollout plan, you cannot bombard everything. You could say, okay, first 2 days I'm going to be publishing on Facebook, and next 2 days I'll going to be following with Twitter and then LinkedIn and YouTube. There has to be structured plan and there has to be budget to it. Now, this is the most important part. How do you analyze the market? You analyze the market, you see what are they doing, how much amount of money they're spending on keywords. What is the... I'm just finishing. So target identification is less for Lenskart. I said you want to hunt for LASIK, you do a paid organic search, you analyze the competition, keywords, likes and search engine rankings. This is a science. It's a pity that I need to do this in 15 minutes. It's a 10-day seminar. You need to target your audience. Now, this is a classical example. Whenever I go below 4.8 rating on Google, I have a bushfire fighting team. 4.9, 4.8 is the lowest agreeable to me. These are organic hits. None of them is paid for. Now, SharpSite usually works on 4.10, 4.9, 4.8. If it goes below 4.8, I set people on fire. It means if there's somebody putting a negative rating, you need to talk to that person, you need to engage, you need to sort that problem out and make sure this person puts a 5-star again. This is how it works. You need a separate mindset to do these kind of things. Map your audience demographics, retargeting your old people, remarketing to new people. You need to have a repeat recall, eyeball grabbing. You can't just flash an advert for 2 weeks and then shut down. You need to keep doing it again and again. Engagements. Now, one thing is very important. You need to map how much of result you're getting from your reception, your doctors and your telecallers, and real recall is very, very important. So why should I start today? Because an average search engine takes 30 to 45 days to register you. So if I start today, I'll be online hitting target within 45 days. So which means if my competitor started today, I'll be starting 45 days later. Now, this is very important. It's a double-edged sword. If a person comes and starts putting negative reviews, your 5-star review starts going down. In the past 2 years ago, I had competitors in Delhi deliberately hire proxy servers to put negative reviews on my organization. So what did I do? I hired a forensic organization to track those guys and find out and warn them that if this is happening, I'm going to do the same to you. So this is a byproduct of social media. It's a double-edged sword. You can actually work with that, create a launch, and you should always have a budget. You should decide, okay, for next 2 months, I'll be doing Facebook, this much amount of money. It's at least 20 times cheaper than your above the line. And always do an above overview of how much of leads you've got, how much of footfalls it has created from you, how much of new customers, and of course, I guess KPI overview, and that's it. Dr. Chitra, I think I stuck to the time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kamal. I know the topic I gave you could not have been dealt in 15 minutes. For that matter, each of the very eminent speakers we've had today should have been given at least an hour, and I should have had each of you on different days for the LDP program. So anyway, because of the time constraint, we have for you now Dr. Abhay Vasavda, dignity and class personified. He is our most eminent speaker, a superlative surgeon, an individual who turn to learn the very best and who would actually teach the very best. He was awarded the most coveted Bing Cost Gold Medal lecture at ASCRS 2011, which very few in the world are lucky to receive. Besides, and it's a true stamp of his excellence. Besides many more awards, he got the Hungarian Doctorate Award by the Hungarian University, a PhD at 3 major universities, and more than 200 publications to his credit. And this amazing individual is going to tell us how to balance academics and practice. On to you, Dr. Abhay Vasavda.
Thank you, Chitra, for your kind words. This is my financial interest, and I'm going to share my views, balancing academics with practice. This area, the way I practice and was practiced at my time, never had this mathematics or the minds that we listened to this for last 1.5 hours. I learned everything, every point. I never knew all this, but this is a little different area. So, sorry? Huh? Are you able to hear?
No, we are able to hear you, but you have to share your screen.
I'm already sharing it, actually. No?
No, we are seeing you.
So you have
No,
to,
sir. We can't see your screen. We can only see your face profile.
How do I do that? I already done that.
Abhay, you share
You just
everything.
go down on the green spot. It says share screen.
Abhay, Chitra told you that you are one of the most likable person and the best personality. Don't take it too seriously. That just show
I
you.
know. I think I'm doing it actually. Share screen.
You have to share screen and then click on the PowerPoint presentation in that share window that comes.
Yes, I did it.
Have you opened your PowerPoint first? Open it first.
Yes, I have.
And then click share again. So you have to click the share.
Yes, we got it now.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, that's it.
Perfect. Okay.
Abhay, you share everything, Abhay.
No, I will. But there's nothing very exciting to share. We had a great excitement for an hour and a half on all these modern way of practicing. This is a different topic, balancing academics with practice, and why we should be talking about it. And you can actually discuss and say this is not worthwhile. But if you have a curiosity in your mind, curiosity to find out, and all of us have, actually, that's why we are doing what we are, balancing academics with your practice will help you to evolve personally, yourself as a clinician, as a scientist, as a good person, as a society member. That's worth joining academics into your practice. Remember, the change is constant, and you need to keep changing yourself and raising your bar of practicing your whatever area of your activity is, so that change will drive you. And it's not only that, but it is a need of the day for your survival and for being very successful, whatever your gauge for the success is. It's a need of the day. And also, I believe it is our responsibility to add on to this for ourselves, for our practice, for our society, a moral responsibility, legal responsibility to create evidences and so on. So I think it is very clear that we should consider adapting academics into practice. But remember, whatever you do or don't, quality care of the patient is the bottom line. Now, having understood why we should be doing it, how are we going to do it? And we have heard the experts so well. But if you crystallize, you have to improve yourself in various ways. You must have a team approach, and we heard how valuable the team is. And finally, you must improve the patient experience, because it is the patient that is going to help you to conduct and carry out your academics. Now, improving self is in many areas, but with the time we have, remember, learning is lifetime. And I have learned so much today in this last hour and a half. So learning is lifetime. And remember what I learned, and most of us have learned, is the devil is in the details. So pay attention, be good observer while listening, while seeing somebody, while watching, because it's the details which will help you to improve. And you can always revisit your strategies or policies or clinical methods or way of performing or investigating, because it's changing. And therefore, learning would happen all the time. But you must have fundamentally a very good team, and it is a team approach. One individual will not be able to do, and I'm not going to detail out the value of the team and how you build up, but it was always there, but not so much as it is in today's time, co-managing with your own subspecialist or other fellow ophthalmologists, but also the other medical specialties, to really give the best care to the patient and understand the science and the art of science, and therefore you can contribute to academic. But it is improving the patient experience which will drive you further, because if you don't have that, you won't be able to perform any academics. Now, there are various things you can do, but remember, the technology you use impresses no one. But the experience you create with that technology and the system you have is what is all about, is everything. So whatever you do, make sure with all the infrastructure, with all the whatever gold-plated stuff and whatever you have, create a good experience. And it is so fundamental to spend time with the patient to understand the problem so that you can research them, you can question it, and be a good clinician and take a good clinical care and have an holistic approach for every patient. It's not only the cataract or that eye or that individual, the family, the background, everything. So holistic approach has always been the right thing for a good clinician, but for academics, it is even more important. But remember, as the previous speakers have already emphasized so much, that you need to be very ethical to the patient. When you do some academic work, you need to inform them what you're doing or any performing an intervention. You need to be ethical towards your colleagues, particularly if the patient has been managed and has untoward effects or is not satisfied with the other colleague. We all are on the same side of the slit lamp and the patient is on the other side. So ethical practice will drive you to do more academics. Now, one of the important pillars for academics is to teach, because teaching is the best way to learn. And can you do that in a practice? It's all right in a medical colleges and in a bigger hospital, but even in a solo practice, I can tell you, you can do it, as I found it very useful. And you can actually teach even whatever kind of setup you have, if you have the desire to have that. Can you do that? And I learned from Dr. Nagpal, Dr. Badrinath, and many others who started fellowship program. And I copied that. And I can tell you, you can do it even in a private practice. It may take a lot of time, and you should be prepared for that. And believe me, there is no apparent immediate tangible gain. In fact, whatever it is there, you will feel you're losing on many things, and because patients may not accept that, your colleagues will make sure that this system doesn't work. But I think academics, even if you had to pay the price, and you may have to pay the price on a social frontier, on your money-making practice, the footfall and so on, it's worth there because that gives a tremendous satisfaction to you of contributing, helping a patient in the right way. So like teaching, you can also incorporate research in your clinical practice. And research, don't get intimidated. Research is nothing but pursuing that curiosity that we have in our mind. So whatever the question you see, whatever the unexpected results you see, which is not titratable with your performance, find out why it is there and raise a question. Now, this can be a clinical research, which would be easier for us, or combining some part of the basic with your other associates. If you are lucky in your city, you can have a translational research. And translational research is something is very fruitful, very rewarding, and it gives very practical results, unlike basic research. I think the knowledge gained through the research can be applied to our own practice, but it will also contribute to the greater good of the science. It is also necessary in the modern practice or any kind of practice that competent research and teaching in a clinical practice are very important and vital for our own growth, our practice growth, and our organization growth for sustained long-term organization. What does it mean? Well, it obviously would translate into a better patient outcome, which is good for the practice and the organization, but actually it will lead to your own growth personally in all frontiers, the clinicians, the human, the scientist level, everything, and you make a progress of science. So all of us then, we will be able to lead a meaningful professional life, and that's what should be our basic requirement or expectation, that we make a difference for ourselves, our families, our patients, and our communities. So For that, I think you need to have that gene, or you can develop that curiosity, which is there already in all of us, to know more and to question that more. We need to be passionate. You need to develop a liking of a particular topic or a particular area of your practice, be passionate about it, and enhance it further. And remember, whatever you do, academics or whatever way you do, run your practice at a corporate, individual, patients are at heart of all that we do. And if you do that, you are able to raise your bar very periodically. And if you do that, your efforts will be recognized. I assure you, it may take time sometimes, but a good academics, good sincere approach, good clinical practice, you will be rewarded this way or that way. So finally, I think I want to do that, and I'm sure all of us, you're already doing it, that we should try to leave behind a legacy for our younger friends of developing a curiosity, of sharing the knowledge and the skill with other fellow colleagues, growing with each other, fellowship, and finally being human to the society, to the patients. And I tell you, I'm very blessed and I'm very happy. So I want to share with you that academics can be balanced judiciously in the practice of whatever kind of practice you do. It's very satisfying in more than one way. So thank you for your patient hearing.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abhay. Just wanted to hear all of what you said. And I'm sure your next generation is taking forward all that you have taught us today. Before I go on to our last speaker, Dr. Shobhi Chawla, who is a speaker whom I really look forward to after all the serious talks we've heard, I would want Dr. Namrata to add something to what Dr. Abhay had said.
I think it is a complete honor to hear his talk. We've always been inspired by him, even as postgraduate students, right from my postgraduate days. And it is just amazing to see how so many things in phacoemulsification, cataract surgery, pediatric cataract surgery, which we used to take for granted, he used to do, or he has, led the way and shown us by his very scientifically designed studies, and most of them are randomized controlled trials, and has proven it through those, the things, the caveats that he's laid down in those specialities for future generations. And it is not easy to publish in cataract. I always thought that, and I always told him, because cataract is a domain, which the other people, they do lakhs and thousands in the Western world. So to publish in the field of cataract surgery has always been very difficult. But thank you so much for all your contributions, sir, and thank you for always inspiring us. And I think the biggest, you can say, advantage, or biggest value that you have when you publish or you do studies which are meaningful is the recognition amongst your own peers. I think that is most important when you are, into academics, and that makes a lot of difference. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Namrata, for being so very kind. Thank you so much. I'm humbled. Thank you.
Abhay, really impressive talks. I just wanted to, this is my thing all the time. I remember the saying, curiosity kills the cat, but I don't know. But I always follow, I'm an ardent follower of Albert Einstein. And he says, the important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing. And one cannot help but be in awe when he contemplates the mysteries of eternity, of life, of the marvelous structure of reality. It is enough if one tries merely to comprehend a little of this mystery every day. So you are Albert Einstein.
Thank you. I don't think so. Thank you.
Only thing is, he had more hair and you don't have.
Thanks. That's very kind. Very kind. Thank you. Thank you for the part. Thank you.
Dr. Bhai. We shall now go on to our last speaker, Dr. Shobhi Chawla, whom we all know is the president of the Vitreoretinal Society of India, is an ophthalmologist who has combined diligence, integrity, and brilliance to conceive his dream Prakash Kendra, which evolved at a time when North India was grappling to get better facilities. And in this backdrop, he made a center of excellence where the most complex surgeries in retina, cornea, and glaucoma and more were done in the most mind-boggling statistics and numbers. In complete contrast to his meteoric achievements in his career, he had a side to him, the hobby of photography, which evolved from the age of 13 to great transitions to running the third exotic solo exhibition of his photography, The Game of Lights. And what I found even more fascinating was his winning 2 amateur chef competition in the Hyatt group. Tell me, who else could have had but Dr. Shovi Chawla to talk on life beyond ophthalmology?
Thank you very much, Dr. Chawla. Before I start my talk, just a one-liner. There are 3 people here who have inspired me a lot. Dr. Ramamurthy, for his brilliance and his sense of adventure. It was 20 years back, or maybe 20 years back, I saw him hiring a mobike and going off at top speed all over Phuket when we were both there together for a very boring optics meeting. And Dr. Natarajan, he left Shankar Netralaya the day I joined. Of course, Dr. Abhay Vasavda, for whom I would like to add that I feel academics and balancing academics and practice, a great catalyst is having a DNB program or a fellowship program at your place. That really helps. With this, I start my small talk on how do I?
You have to
Just go on full screen. That's it. Press the cursor.
Yeah, it's gone on full screen.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So Chitra gave me this topic. I looked up and I found this very interesting fact: Pittsburgh Enjoyable Activities Test. It's one of a very highly rated articles and has been cited at a lot of places. A higher PEAT scores were associated with lower blood pressure, total cortisol, waist circumference, and body mass index. I don't know how far that is true. And perceptions of better physical function. That is true. These associations withstood controlling for demographic measures. The PEAT was correlated with higher level of positive psychosocial states and other levels of depression and negative affects. Consistent with the hypothesis, they go and say that the PEAT scores were correlated positively with better self-reported sleep and more exercise. To me, we define enjoyable leisure activities broadly as the pleasurable activities that individuals engage in voluntarily when they are free from the demands of work or other responsibilities. These might include hobbies, sports, socializing, or spending time in nature. These activities have a great restorative effect, and enjoyable activities may also act as restorers that facilitate the individual's recovery from stress by replenishing damaged or depleted resources. Restoration may occur as a result of positive social interactions, feeling protected, cared for, or relaxation that leads to increased positive emotions. There is a leisure satisfaction scale which puts hobbies and spending quiet time by yourself at the top level, besides other activities in which we all indulge in. When we look at work-life balance statistics, why it matters, why we need another diversion, another involvement. 76% of workers say that negative stress at work has a negative impact on personal relationships. 6% have lost sleep due to stress at work, and 16% have quit a job because of stress. These figures are quite high. And we look at the best work-life balance jobs. Unfortunately, you see corporate recruiters figuring on the top, and lawyers and surgeons among the worst among the work-life balance jobs, despite having excellent earnings. To me, personal benefits in my journey of pursuing other activities like photography, cooking, and cycling, besides others, has been a mental and emotional release. The activity, if there is a passion, it becomes almost meditative. There is a rise in self-esteem. Knowledge in other fields is a great conversation mover in social circles. It has given me a lot of opportunities to take lectures on another subject in different forums, including universities, leadership role, and good for your professional practice too. It gives you a really special position in society, especially in the era of social media. You are recognized more than besides your profession. It increases your appeal as a professional, and patients who know about it, especially the youngsters, get connected to you better. You will not believe it, despite being a retina specialist, most refractive surgery patients coming to our setup first come and meet me, and then I direct them to the refractive surgeon. You get back recouped mentally, emotionally, and physically. There is a new zest in your profession when you have had a time of relaxation and release, and even gives you renewed energy for academic pursuits. When I come back from a good photo shoot, the first thing I feel like is going through my surgical videos and coming up with something new. It is important to do something relaxing before taking important decisions, as Paul Coelho has pointed out. To be creative means to be in love with life. You can be creative only if you love life enough and you want to enhance its beauty. You want to bring a little more music to it, a little more poetry to it, and a little more dance to it. On a personal touch, it has been a great personal development. It has helped me increase contacts via related groups and clubs. I have at least lectured in 6 management forums on various things, and then finally the lecture starts with something like the aging eye or something on retinal disorders, and then goes up to ends up with photography or some other pursuit. New friendships you make, define enhancement. There is definite enhancement of practice too with these contacts, and there is respect and recognition in a different sphere besides profession. In my journey, I have realized pursuits of passion can be meditative, just like the high of a challenging surgery which goes smooth. A photo shoot in the mountains can give the same high without the deadline stress and blues, and is free from the margin of error. I had gone to this 15,000 feet above sea level for 1 hour. I went at 2 o'clock and I returned at 8 o'clock. I was mesmerized and I kept on clicking this lovely sunset where a drama was being staged right in front of my eyes. Another thing which I have found therapeutic when you have to take out your wrath, anger, or any frustration is kneading a dough can be therapeutic. And you come up with lovely breads. It has helped me a lot in the COVID times on the lighter vein. Thank you. Hope I made some sense. It's time to climb to new unexplored paths and unleash your other hidden potentials.
So true, Dr. Ashok. That was a lovely talk, and just the right kind of a finale which I wanted for this much look forward to ARC session for our LDP participants. Are there any questions?
No question. I don't know whether you enjoyed. I have enjoyed several times staying with Shobit, and he's an excellent cook. And I think he cooks it with love and passion, and you can see it in the taste, which you cannot get anywhere. And I think I'm happy. I've had it several times. And then he takes us for a beautiful walk in Lucknow, and then to the Sharma tea stall. So I cannot forget that. Yes, Shobit, I think it's really beautiful. Anyway, I have not accompanied you in the photographic trips because a problem of too much of traveling. But now I think I have all the time. I keep seeing your Facebook photographs and I enjoy it.
To actually see the restaurant ratings of all the hotels in Lucknow, all the restaurants, Dr. Shobit Chawla's name is everywhere. He has rated all the restaurants of how the food is over there. He's so passionate about it.
I'm sure I can understand. He's a foodie. And Dr. Chitra, I think I must compliment you from getting, from making a mixture, a blend of all, technology, practice, finance management, life beyond ophthalmology. I think it could have been a better platform for the people who are here and the LDP people. I think it's amazing to get a mixture of all from their elder generation and learn from all that life is not just ophthalmology, it's beyond. It's practice, what Dr. Vasavada said was ethical practice, patient connect, what Dr. Maipal said was finance and resource management, what Dr. Amamurthy said about equipment management, what I said about marketing yourself, and Dr. Shobit. I think you could not have found a better combination and mix and match. Hats off to you.
Thank you very much. Any other?
We all
Yeah.
learned
No,
that.
I think I agree with what Satyajit sir said. Shobit sir is a man with a taste. You should have seen how he conducted the VRSI, madam, last conference.
That was amazing.
Definitely, thank you, Shobit sir. It's a really wonderful talk.
Yes, that was a really amazing experience. I would like to go on to conclude because we have really been
You have your phone in front of the camera.
Yeah, because she doesn't want to share the screen. So second, she could have kept another laptop.
And not to miss Dr. Aravind, there was so much learning there. And I guess I need to visit him to learn a few tricks of how he works around. It's amazing.
Very true. I hope all my speakers are there.
Chitra?
Yes.
No. Before you conclude, compliments to you. I'm happy you are continuing the lantern, the thing, pattern of carrying the LDP. I think we should have exclusive sessions, as you rightly said. We can have each one talking about their own career growth as one person. Maybe you can do it weekly and for a specific audience, so that I think they will learn a lot, and that's the purpose of LDP.
Yeah, I also thought that we would have people from different specialities giving a talk, so that which has some perspective connection to ophthalmology. We'll do that. So,
So we have Satyajit, who is there right from the first course. So I think he knows what is happening in LDP, even though he doesn't come, but he knows what's happening in the LDP every year.
I've been attending in between a few sessions, sir. But in 2004-05, we attended the first one in Hotel Pritham in Mumbai.
Correct. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So I'm very happy that time Nirmal, you and Raj Sekhar from PNOA. But
Shobit, you need to invite me to one of your events of cooking, because I'm a foodie myself. So I'm a vegetarian.
There was a time when Dr. Natarajan was pushing this LDP program, and my father, when he was the president, Dr. Ajit Sinha, he supported Dr. Natarajan to make this program go forward. So I'm very, very involved with this whole program right from the beginning.
So I'm thankful to the Sinha squared family. And plus, I know Satyajit from his school days.
Harshul, he's a real man behind Life Beyond Ophthalmology in Airways.
Yes.
Harshul.
Yes.
Afternoon, sir.
You're doing an amazing job, Harshul. We've been watching from the sidelines.
I'm sorry for joining late. We had some meeting at hospital, ma'am. But it was a real treat to hear all these stalwarts and all of you, ma'am.
Yeah. Yes. And you've been doing a very great job. You've really brought many people forward, and we are realizing there's so much of talent in ophthalmology.
Yes.
Besides.
Yeah.
Great. Even Harshul is an LDP alumni. I'm happy.
Yes, sir. I'm trained by you.
So I shall go on to conclude. I'm so glad that we've had the best of best with us, with their lifetime experiences shared in their talks, and a way forward for all of us. We are also quite caught in trying times, and I'm sure each of us have got energized today for a brighter future with some new thoughts and new directions. And absolutely nothing could have been possible without the presence of an expert panel as Dr. Natarajan, our past president of AIOS, Dr. Namrata, our ever-driven General Secretary, who have definitely brought in their own elusive charm to this meeting. My very special thanks to my dear speakers who have been a role model for me over the evolving years, Dr. Mahipal, Dr. Ramurthy, Dr. Arvind, Dr. Kamal, Dr. Vaivasavda, and Dr. Shobit Chawla. My very personal gratitude to each of them for sparing their very precious time for us. My thanks to Mr. Pal, Mr. Sunil for being torchbearers for AIOS activity. My very, very special thanks to Sai for his constant encouragement and support. And I would be truly failing if I do not express My very deep felt thanks to Dr. Mahipal, who helped me out in making today's meeting happen. Thanks a lot, dear friends. I would want some comments from the LDP in the WhatsApp group with their ideas so that we could plan something even better as time evolves. I think we'll have to be on webinars and small Zoom meetings for the time to come. So look forward to all your thoughts, and I'm sure we'll have good meetings for the LDP, the best we can possibly do. Thank you very much, all of you.
Good.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Chitra.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Srinivas is like the bright hero here.
Yeah.
Sir, you are the ever charming.
Yeah.
You have not lost, you have not gained weight, neither you have lost your hair.
Amitabh Bachchan of ophthalmology.